delighted to be joined by a lady on a mission. It is Natasha Homer-Early, and Natasha is the founder of PetsScore. And PetsScore is the world's first pet referencing service for tenants. So Natasha, it's wonderful to meet you, because I'm very interested to learn more about PetsScore. But before we start talking about that, maybe you could tell me a little bit about your personal property background and your kind of tech background as well, because you've kind of combined the two, haven't you?
I have, yeah. So I obviously have been a landlord myself, a private landlord in London many years ago. And I've also done a bit of property development overseas in Italy as well, a few times. And my family, who are based on the South Coast, have a property development business where they do new builds and they do refurbs. And they have a property portfolio. So we're obviously used to those kind of landlord challenges, and they used to have letting agents, which they sold to Martin & Co. Mm-hmm. So I have a little bit of a background in this. I wouldn't say that I'm an industry expert by any means, but I'm not a total newbie. In terms of my background, I've got 23 years I've been in technology, so since the start of the internet in Europe. And I've got about 8 C-suite roles under my belt. So everything from CEO to COO, CPO, and a lot of experience, particularly in the kind of fintech space, excuse me, which is using technology to disrupt financial services. So I've pioneered a lot of alternative payments, which was the start of fintech, right through to anonymous currencies and anonymous wallets, which was the foundation of the cryptocurrency and blockchain space. And I've also run large online payment processing companies. So yeah, I've kind of been I'm an old hand in tech, as they say.
And you've brought all that to bear and combined it with, I guess, your personal love of pets as well for PetsScore.
Yeah, so I didn't go looking for this, actually. My dog talked me into it. We've been looking to rent for about 6 months now, moved to a new place. And I really wanted somewhere with outside space for her, because we don't have that where we are. And I just came up across how hard it was, this challenge to find somewhere, and very, very difficult to know what the criteria was as a pet renter. I had incredible references from my current managing agents for myself and my pet, but still really struggled. I was offering 12 months rent in advance in places. Detached, unfurnished houses wouldn't rent to me, yet studios would consider me. So I found it very confusing and also very tough. So I kind of started looking into it in the UK a bit more closely, trying to understand what the factors were that were kind of underpinning and driving the situation. And then I started looking outside the UK at other markets. So I looked at the US, Canada, Australia, South Africa, right across right across Asia into India, Saudi Arabia, which has the biggest amount of large dogs in the world as pets. So like a lot of different markets. And I started digging around into landlord research, all the studies that have been done in the UK and other markets of different concerns that landlords had. And it became clear very quickly that it's not just one issue, one common issue across all landlords or letting agents. There are a number of different issues depending upon who you're talking to.
I love the way you said your dog was kind of the inspiration behind PetsScore. And we know that the UK is, a country of pet lovers. And we've got some statistics here. There are 51 million pets in the UK belonging to 12 million families. But I believe your research showed that only about 120,000 UK rentals accept pets. So we can see this massive supply and demand issue for pet rentals. And I think your timing is excellent, Natasha, because obviously we're seeing very much a direction of travel from government, looking at how pets can be more integrated into the private rented sector. So it seems that you may have brought PetsScore to the market at exactly the right time.
I hope so, yes. Obviously, I'm aware of Andrew Rosendahl, the MP, his Jasmine's Law, and people like advocates working with him. I know that it was rejected a couple of weeks ago, and that they're redrafting right now to resubmit the bill. And I think that that will keep happening. I think they'll do that several times to try and get some form of bill through.
Mm.
What worries me, and my concern here is, obviously I'm very concerned for pet renters, but I'm also really concerned for landlords, because if this legislation is legislation on them, they don't actually have any tools right now to be able to weigh this up as a risk factor
Mm.
for a business decision. So suddenly, if it comes through, it's going to be forced on landlords. They can't immediately reject a pet, and they're going to be trying to work out how they actually manage that risk. So I'm in the middle of build at the moment, Vanessa, and it's going really well. We're ploughing through really quickly on our build, and I'm hoping to be launched by somewhere between mid-August and before the end of August. So very soon, in like the next 7 or 8 weeks. And obviously, I'm mindful of the fact that there's a whole letting industry out there waiting in the UK for this type of tool.
I think you're right. And currently, there's just a holding page at PetsScore, and
Yeah.
landlords that are interested can just go and register now, just to show their interest. And we hope that some of the property tribes community do go along and have a look and register. But really, from the tenant perspective, let's follow their journey on PetsScore, because essentially they're going to set up a profile for their pet. Is that correct?
That's right. So they come on, sign up, and then we take them through a set of questions that we ask them. And we do a lot of digging. So we identify, obviously, pet identity, everything from the breed, the sex, the weight, to the microchip. Then we go through things like health, so vaccination and treatments. We go through pet owner supervision of the pet, typically. That would be daytime and nighttime, any behavioral issues. So there's a lot of different information that we gather there, including a pet renter's appetite for paying extra pet rent and extra pet deposit, which gets captured in a pet score. Once that information has been created by a pet renter for free, we then allow them to push out reference requests online to anyone inside the letting industry. And then it's simply one click in from your request to come in and fill out a reference. A reference is 12 questions and it takes about 3 minutes. It's all click driven. They're all multiple choice for a landlord or letting agent. So it's super, super quick. We gather up references, and that's a constant process. And what we do is we cross check and verify the data that we've got from the reference against what the pet owner submitted, and every answer is point weighted in our system. We put it all into a risk engine, and it spits out a risk score on the other end for landlords and letting agents about not only the pet but the pet owner as well.
Oh, wow. Well, that sounds absolutely fantastic. And I guess the tenants are kind of looking to build up almost like a pet passport. Presumably, when they're moving from one property to the next, the outgoing landlord can, give their reference for the pet and so
Yeah.
on. So they build up a kind of history and track record of responsible pet ownership and pet rental.
That's right. So I think on average in the UK, the average amount of time a tenant moves is every 20 months.
Mm.
So we will be effectively gathering references as people move out each time. But on top of that, PetScore also works for the short-term letting space. So we can also gather references from peer-to-peer sharing economy hosts, so hosts inside Airbnb, Bookings.com, Expedia, etc. So we're constantly gathering reference data all the time, not just when they move in the long-term rental space. And that obviously allows us to keep refining and refining the score. So the score is a live thing. And every single time we get new reference data in, the score updates in real time for landlords and letting agents.
So it's very, very up to date and a snapshot of exactly,
That
where
moment
we
in
are in.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. I'm now looking from the landlord perspective. You've said it's free for the tenant to set up a pet score profile for their pet, which at the moment it's just cats and dogs, isn't it?
I'm tackling cats and dogs first because
Yep.
obviously they're the biggest amount of pets that we all seem to have. But I was in Facebook the other evening and someone's having problems renting with their lizards. So at some point I will be adding other pets on. But before I do that, obviously I want to make sure certain products are built around the basic pet score.
So from the landlord perspective, how do they use PetsScore? Is there a charge associated with accessing the reference?
Sure. So with PetScore, basically we work very similar to a tenant reference agency, but we're obviously not priced equally. We're much cheaper than a tenant's reference agency. I see the product as a support product to a tenant check, a tenant score. You can come on as a landlord, and you can either, if you're a landlord with just one property, you can just buy a one-off check, and that's it, as and when you need it. If you're someone with a few properties, going right up to big, large property portfolios, we've got a range of monthly subscriptions there, and it's a bundle of credits that we give you each month. So you just buy the subscription that suits your purchase level and the amount of credits that you need. And inside those subscriptions, we will be, after launch, building in business intelligence statistics on the pet renter space. So for every landlord that takes some form of subscription, they're going to get free business intelligence stats bundled in with their subscription to be able to help the industry understand what's going on and where the opportunities are. For example, where we're getting the most sign-ups by IP location. So they might be areas where it's a shortage of pet-friendly rentals. Sign-ups by type of pet and breed and size, so that you can start to get a feel for what the market looks like.
Well, that sounds really, really useful data for landlords. We have a lot of discussions on Property Tribes about pet rentals, and one sort of common trend I notice is that landlords that have let to pets and the pet has significantly damaged the property, they are very, very anti-pet going forward.
Yeah, I totally understand this as well, having been a landlord myself. So what I've laid out for you earlier is just the basic service. So around that, I've actually put in a connection to an insurance broker. So we'll be offering pet renters the ability to take out a contents damage insurance product that covers pets up to £4,000 in liability. And what we do with that, my interest in that is to move the risk off of the landlord, the financial risk, and onto the tenant. Another thing that we're doing, Vanessa, is we're looking at building a standalone, a specific pet deposit product as well. So these will be kind of add-on products around the main service. And obviously, if somebody takes that insurance policy, that will be reflected in their pet score, and you'll see it in their profile when you buy a pet score. So you'll be able to see that they've got that cover damage there. You will also be able to see if somebody has a pet deposit and how much deposit they have. We're already in discussions with some of the leading inventory software companies, because what we're interested in doing is obviously pushing out the pet profile and the performance to the inventory companies for check-in, and then that actually forming part of the inspection. And then once the checkout happens, the inventory software companies pushing us the updates of the conclusion of the checkout, so that we can kind of have a completely full circle of this, and we can reflect it in the people's scores. So if they did well, they're going to get their full deposit back. The checkout report was really good, then obviously it's really going to boost their score. But if their checkout was bad or their inspections are bad, then obviously in real time that's going to affect their score.
That sounds really fantastic idea, Natasha. And I think the great thing about it is that it's going to encourage tenants to be responsible pet owners and clean the property properly at the end of the tenancy and have a positive checkout, etc. So everything about this is sounding like it's the right product at the right time for the private renters sector. And I think so much of the success of PetScore will depend on educating landlords and making them understand the benefits of renting to pet owners, which we know are numerous. And we know that tenants with pets tend to stay longer, so less void periods for landlords. We often talk of this pet premium, which on Property Tribes, just anecdotally, seems to be around £25 per month per pet. And, it's in very challenging market conditions. If you can offer to a pet, you may let your property, while another landlord that's refusing to let to a pet has got a property sitting empty for many months. So lots, I'm a pet lover myself, got 3 Bengal tiger cats.
Oh,
And
fantastic.
I support pets in the private rented sector with responsible pet ownership.
Yeah, I think this sort of tool is actually a good thing, because it's actually going to encourage pet renters to to actually perform better inside their tenancies, which can't be a bad thing. Pet renters are a really unlocked secret right now for the lettings industry, and I think we also need to really be aware that the main bulk of pet renters are millennials, who also happen to be the people that drive the revenue growth in the lettings industry. And it's a huge amount. Like, I'm estimating it at about 7.6 million millennials in the UK that have got pets and rent, 30% of which are hiding their pets at the moment from their landlords. And we need to obviously tackle that. And we obviously want to keep millennials happy, because they are the main revenue stream of the lettings industry. So we don't, they are the people that push the pet ownership growth worldwide, have done for the last 13 years. So they love their pets. 32% of them think their pet is their child, their baby, which we all do if we've got pets. And so I think this is a win-win on both sides. I just think it needed that kind of risk tool and that framework to actually be able to manage this properly. And then I think for landlords, they get higher return on investment per unit, because the pet renter will pay more. As you said, they're going to be lower occupancy rates and definitely less vacancy rates. Pet rentals accepting pets normally stay empty 4% less than normal rentals. So I do see a win-win here for both sides, but I do understand there are some landlords out there that have really been bitten by this. And what I would say to them is, come on and try my service. If you're not happy, don't use it. But we're really, really working hard to make sure we cover all the angles, and we'll continue to develop the product and put basically more checks in place as we go along with it.
Well, I have to say, Natasha, I'm very impressed with how far you've got with this already. I know from my own experience how challenging it is to launch a tech product. I think you're doing all the right things, and you've obviously created this really useful platform that's going to serve landlords, tenants, and letting agents, and pets. So I know it's early days yet, you haven't launched yet. So today's interview was really just to give a flavour of what's in the pipeline, and to encourage landlords to go and look at the PetsScore website and sign up to it.
There's some info on there, and also as well, if they pre-sign up now, we're offering our landlords a 30-day free trial to test it out and see if they like it. So if they sign up now, then obviously they'll be some of the first people to get that trial.
Brilliant. And what I'd like to suggest is that once it is up and running, and you've got pets being registered on there, then maybe we could meet again for another chat. Maybe not even on Zoom, maybe in person. But for now,
I'll bring my dog.
But for now, it's been lovely to meet you and speak with you. And thank you for what you're trying to do for tenants, landlords, and pets.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure. And, thank you for allowing me to talk about PetsScore and share it. So thanks.